set a full perspective to things. People talk about a desire to be successful. All of the elements. Hello, this is Dr. Rick Wallace, dropping in to throw in my 2 cents into the debate that is rising around Jesse Williams and the news that he is divorcing his wife, and that it is now believed that he is seeing Minka Kelly, who is the ex of Derek Jeter, and White. There are so many micro lessons that can be taken from this that I don't even think that I can touch them all, and I really don't have a desire to do so. So I'm going to try to touch those things that are prevalent in developing a lucid perspicacity of how things work and how we must adjust our thinking if we truly want to be able to take energy and momentum from particular events and things and create this synergistic movement of liberation for blacks, the Black collective, and the descendants of Africa. One lesson that we must learn here explicitly is that we've got to learn to detach the message from the messenger, detach the action from the actor. And when I say actor, I'm not speaking of actors from Hollywood. I'm speaking from anybody taking an action that we can perceive to be a positive action. Anyone making a speech that we can perceive as a positive speech. Anyone bringing a message that we can perceive as a positive message. We must be able to disconnect the message from the messenger, the action from the actor, the speech from the speaker, and be able to take the energy created by those particular mechanisms and events and create a movement. Because anytime that you leave the message connected to the messenger, you are now at the whim and the mercy of the capricious nature and thought of humanity, and that is to change in direction or change in position. And I must, while I'm not necessarily ecstatic about what I'm hearing is actually a significant part of the reality of this society and this culture we live in, and not just limited to the Black collective. We don't value marriage the way that marriage was once valued. We don't place a high priority on covenant and contract and commitment. We move with our feelings. We act with our feelings. We make decisions through our feelings. We are emotionally driven people, and we lack rationale. We lack loyalty. We lack commitment. And this is not simply on the Black side. While Blacks lead the divorce rate, nobody's far behind. Everybody's struggling in that area. We're all close to that 50% mark. And that's because the manner in which marriage is presented and observed in this Western culture doesn't place a high priority on it. Loyalty and commitment are not the banyans and the foundation of marriage anymore. Marriage is more about romance and emotion, how you make me feel now. And so when we get caught up in it, we move with our feelings. But what I can tell you is being with anybody for any significant amount of time is going to bring along challenges. The vicissitudes of life are going to move against you. You're going to have growth pains. You're going to have issues and moments in time when you're growing in two different directions because you're two different individuals. And it's going to be a requisite to maintain and sustain this relationship that you be able to find one another, recalibrate your bearings, and come up with a common goal and a common destiny so that you can find yourselves back on the same path. And when you're not able to do that, separation and divorce is inevitable. And we're experiencing that at a high level across the board. What makes this difference is we hung a sign on this brother that said Black Power without acknowledging his humanity and the fact that he was half white, and that things change. And I'm not saying that his belief in what he stands for changes for the Black community. I'm saying that he's going to be viewed differently, especially by Black women, based on the fact that he's leaving his family. And we don't know the totality of what's causing this. What I can tell you is I did my research before I weighed in on this. And his wife is not some woman who sits at home and does not have her own mind and her own sense of self. She is in the art business. And in being in the art business, she has developed and is consistently developing her own name and her own brand. And she is working towards doing some things. So it's not like he just up and said, I'm going to leave you like this, and that's it. And we don't know if it's totally him saying he wants to leave or if this is a mutual decision. Because what I can tell you is they've made a decision that the courts are not going to decide alimony. The courts are not going to decide child support. They're doing that through a mediator, which I actually admire. I'm not admiring the breakup. I'm very non-supportive of the breakup. I believe that Black marriage is the core foundation of Black power. I have been pushing for the restoration of the Black family nucleus for some time. I have been writing about it. I have been producing reports and studies about it. I believe in it. But I will tell you that the reality as of right now is that there isn't a large enough box of people who believe in marriage that way that we can see the push of even see the restoration or really want to sit up and blame one person because they failed where many have. I think that it makes us appreciate people who are in the industry who have stuck with their wives despite whatever has come along, like for a long period of time, like Denzel Washington, who was for the longest time the Black dude in the business. And he's been with his wife. Now, there have been some rumors and things, but he's with his wife. And so it makes us appreciate that. And we can look across the board with the Black high profile pastors who are going through divorce or have gone through divorce and all of these different things. The things is until we put a strong enough level of importance on commitment versus emotion when it comes to marriage, we're going to continue to see things like this. This is just simply magnified because of who it's happening with. But it's a problem across the board, and we have to see that at the same time. Does it detract from his speech at the BET Awards? I think that it does. I think that it shouldn't, but it does because we leave those messages connected to the messenger. If we learn to immediately detach the message from the messenger and take the good of the message while thanking the messenger, but not making them the owner of the message, then we can start to see how we can benefit and build momentum without losing traction or losing steam with someone who we've hung our hat on makes a move or decision that is not shine the greatest or the brightest light on what we're thinking and how we're thinking and what we want. We're going to have to understand that we are being supported and compulsed by imperfect people with imperfect ideologies. While they may be powerful and powerfully outspoken and well committed in one area, they may be suffering and struggling in other areas. It's all of us. We are like that way. There are certain things I'm exceptional at. There are certain things that I can just step into and knock out the park. And there are other areas that I'm fighting to become better at. But I don't want anyone hanging their hat of liberation for the Black collective on me. Why? Because I can actually get to a point to where I make a mistake, and that mistake can be magnified for the purpose of minimizing or diminishing the message and the ideas and the strategies that I've brought and put on the table. And I don't want that to happen. I want the strategies, the ideas, the concepts, the message to be something that belongs to the Black collective in its totality, not to me. And that way, when I make a mistake, it's not automatically used against me or used against me for the purpose of tearing down everything I've built in my message. And so I think that has to be applied to what's going on with Jesse Williams. Am I giving him a pass? No. Like I said, I'm very disappointed, but I'm not surprised. What will happen is we are going to continuously fall to erroneous concepts and ideologies that place little emphasis on commitment, little emphasis on the family structure and the importance of sustaining that family structure through commitment. And, you know, the to death do us part thing is something that, for the most part, should just simply be removed from the vows that are given generally in weddings, because the vows are a part of a covenantal spoken contract that is supposed to be upheld in the marriage. And when you are failing and you're breaching the contract, you know, there are negative consequences that come with that. And I think that I've always told people, don't say anything that you're not in your wedding vows that you're not willing to commit solely and wholly to. And I think there's a general consensus that we just go with what's always been said. You need to construct your wedding vows based on what your true commitment to that marriage will be. And if there are some things that can make you sign out of that marriage, then those things need to be considered at the time that you make the commitment, because the commitment needs to be solid. We need to know when we enter a marriage, as long as this, and this never happens, I'm here. All the other things, we're going to get through it. There needs to be an understanding of what we're willing to tolerate in the marriage and what we're not, what we're expecting from the marriage, what we're willing to give to the marriage. And as long as those contingencies are met, long as those particular issues are actually handled, then we are committed to stay in that relationship. It's not about how we feel. We move too much on how we feel. I mean, most people aren't aware of this, but until the 13th century, romance and emotion wasn't the guiding force or the driving force of marriage anyway. That was a new thing, relatively speaking, that was introduced into the scope of marriage. And since then, marriage has been on a disruptive course that has seen it decline in value. And so we've got to find ourselves in that. But as far as Jesse Williams is concerned, he's a man just like everybody else. I think that for whatever reason, he's making a decision that I don't see as being a positive one. Some people say he's selling out for Hollywood. Some people says that he's quickly forgetting the people who stood by him and the person who was with him. Because I don't know the totality of the decision and who's all involved in the decision. Is this just his decision, or is his wife in the decision? Is this a mutual decision or not? I can't speak on it, so I'm not going to judge him on that. I'm not happy about it. I'm not backing him on it. I'm not standing with him on it. It's too many black families being disrupted. The fact that he leaves and he goes and connects with a white woman definitely does not help. Yes, I understand his mother is white. And so there is this, you know, and obviously Mika Kelly has a thing for biracial men, because you got to remember she's used to be with Derek Jeter, who is biracial as well. Well, with all that being said, this is it for me. I'm going to check out on it. I think it's going to be visited more than it necessarily has to. I think that we need to go and look at the front end of this video, and basically that's the answer to it all. We've got to learn how to detach the message from the messenger, the action from the actor, and we've got to learn how to take the content of what is being presented and use that without hanging it and giving ownership solely to the person who brought it. I think the ownership has to be passed on to the collective as a whole. I think that we've got to start to value family. And I think that we've got to be more focused and committed in taking and moving in ways that are connected to reason and rationale, logic, commitment, and not so much emotion. That's it for me. As I always say, I'm going to down E. I'm going to give everything that I have. I'm going to fight until the bitter end. I'm not turning back, not giving up, not leaving one dream unrealized, one book unwritten, one speech unspoken, one life untouched. And I'm inviting you to do the exact same thing. I'm out of here. Peace.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in with a little special announcement. For those who have followed me for any stretch of time, you know, outside of the businesses that I run, like Myriad Business Solutions, the Visionetics Institute, Odyssey Media Group, I also do a great deal of work inside of the inner city communities in Houston, Dallas, and other areas. I'm asking now, as we push a fundraiser, that you support what the Odyssey Project is doing in the inner cities, especially with programs like Black Men Lead, which is a rite of passage initiative, and Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters, which is a program focused on helping young girls, but boys as well, suffering from childhood sexual abuse, rape, molestation, domestic abuse, absentee fatherhood, and so many other things. The information will be in the box. Thank you.
From a conceptual perspective, people talk about it as a success.